Hey, welcome to Aussie Online Growing on Shopify. This is episode 103. It's all about how overnight success and seeing lots of overnight success stories can really hurt your mindset and totally hurt your progress in growing a business rather than encouraging you. So if you feel like that's a little bit of you, this episode might be for you. If you feel like you get caught up in a social media rabbit hole of overnight successes and make $100,000 while you sleep, all that stuff that's in the online business world space. Like, it's really hard to get away from that. And it's really hard to sift through it and to try and find some sort of sensible, legit, advice and support in that space. So if you feel a bit like that, that you are worried you are like missing a critical secret source to your business, or you feel like you are just missing the magic piece or the piece of the puzzle to suddenly be an overnight success, or to be suddenly selling out, or to be suddenly making tens of thousands of dollars a month in revenue, I want to tell you that's probably not true. And a lot of that stuff is just fluff and bravado and like really scammy stuff outside in the online world space. So this episode's a bit about that. If you're feeling a bit overwhelmed with that, or if you're worried that you are missing some critical magic piece to your business, to suddenly become amazing overnight success with hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue, probably not. That's probably a whole lot of rubbish you are seeing online that can feel really intimidating. And sometimes I think we go looking for that sort of content to motivate us, and it can quite often do the opposite. You may feel like that sort of stuff paralyzes you, because it can actually hurt your mindset more than helping you feel like you are moving forward. It can hurt your progress rather than help you in progressing forward. So that's what this episode is a little bit about. And I want to share it because I have two screenshots I'm going to put here on the screen. If you're watching on video, you will see them, but I will explain them to you as well. One is from my Shopify dashboard, and the other one is from my Klaviyo account, from my email marketing CRM. And I want to show you these because these are an example of some of the screenshots you can easily find. And these I didn't even have to look very hard for. Like, it took me 5 minutes, where you think something is incredible and that you are missing some secret sauce because of this amazing stat, when in fact you're not. These can be very easily manufactured, and not even in a lying sense. There's something about data that I love, which is that data doesn't lie, but data can be made to tell whatever story you want it to make. So when you see stats, particularly from online gurus on the internet, they use a lot of data, which is a credibility ploy or a credibility play, which can be legit or not, depending whether you know them and whether you know much about them, whether you trust them, and whether you have experience with them and with their business. And that's sort of the point, is that this data should be taken at face value, and you should really dig for the story behind it, or look for the explanation from the creator for the story behind the data before you just swallow it whole. And then go follow that person, listen to that podcast, go follow that creator, go sign up to their email, and then see how you feel about it over time. As you begin to learn more and more about this person or this business coach or this guru, then make the decisions based off of that after time, of whether you want to pursue this relationship with them in a more formal way with coaching or training or courses, or whether you don't. But don't feel like what you see at face value, the statistics at face value, tell the whole story, because they never do. They never tell the whole story. And data can be made to tell what story you want it to tell, depending on what snippet of data you pull and what metrics you apply and what time frame you add, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. For instance, the screenshot I have up here from my Shopify dashboard that I shows that I had 234 sessions, and which was an increase. If you have a look, it's got an increase under there, or a compared to rate of 81%. So I increased my traffic by 81%. That's the headline. That is the headline I could put on social media. I could start this podcast episode with. I could run an ad to my headline stat of increase your website traffic by 81%. And here's my screenshot to show you the proof. It's really that simple to kind of generate some sort of FOMO and scarcity and position myself as the only expert with the secret, with the magic trick that you need to increase your website traffic by 81%. And that's just like not true. That's a load of rubbish. You need to go back and find what the story is behind that metric. Let me tell you the story behind this metric, because it's not a good one. Like, I could use this metric to make it seem amazing, but it's actually not that great. There is no missing magic piece. You are probably not missing any magic piece to your business. You are just solving the next problem in front of you. And my episode about my steady growth e-commerce umbrellas, which I need to look up the number. I think it's 92. I'm not even sure. My steady growth umbrella strategy for e-commerce is all the pieces you need to consider when growing your e-commerce brand. All the other stuff is just noise and distraction. So when you look for a creator, you find a creator or a business you want to work with, just dig and do some research, follow them for a while, listen to their podcast if they've got one, go follow them on social media, sign up to their email, and start to get to know them a bit to really feel like if what you sense about them is confirmed or not before you go ahead and spend money with them. And I say that because I was chatting on a discovery call with my new friend in the US. Her name is Terry, and she said how she started listening to Susan Bradley's podcast, The E-Commerce Roadmap, based off of a recommendation I gave in one of my earlier podcast episodes. I actually also mentioned Susan Bradley's podcast in episode 102 as well, because she has an incredible strategy around e-commerce website pop-ups. So I encourage you to go back and listen to episode 102. But anyway, I was chatting to her on a discovery call, Terry, who is my new best friend, and she was telling me how much she loves Susan Bradley and the e-commerce roadmap. And I was like, me too. She's my favorite. I want to be her one day. And I did exactly what I'm suggesting you do, which is I found her, I followed her, I listened to many of her podcast episodes. And at that point, I then knew that I trusted her, that I loved her strategy, that we really aligned in our ethos on business growth and being sensible and transparent with data and expectations on how to grow a business online. Is I then joined her membership for a year, and I have since bought a couple of courses from her as well. So all of that to say, the stat that I showed on my Shopify dashboard of increase your website traffic by 81% is the headline, but the story is not great, because what happened, that's why I decided to take this screenshot, because I thought it was perfectly serendipitous that I made a big mistake on my website that resulted in 81% more sessions on this day than I had the day before, which is that I sent an email to my Klaviyo, my email engage segment, and said, hey, I have this new cool digital download resource you might love. The reason I sent an email was because I've changed my pop-up on my website, which is also episode 102 in the lead up to Black Friday. So that pop-up now, my website, all my existing Klaviyo users are not going to see it. When they go to my website to shop and browse, they're not going to know that exists. So I wanted to tell them about it because I thought they might like it. So what I was sending them an email about was that I had this new digital download I think they might love, and I was trying to send them to the landing page with the PDF. That was my plan, was to email them, send them to the landing page I created so they could straight away get the download. Because if they go to my website and wait for the pop-up, it's not going to be there because they're already a Klaviyo profile, and I've excluded Klaviyo profiles from my pop-up. So I needed to send them to the landing page where the digital download was, where the PDF was. However, unfortunately, I just got the link wrong in my email. I sent them to my website, to where the pop-up should be, and it wasn't there because they're already in Klaviyo. So I realized this about 7 hours later because a customer emailed me and she just mentioned it to me that she had an issue with it. And I was so thankful. I said, I'm so sorry. I cannot believe I did that. I sent you the wrong link. I sent you to the wrong landing page, which means I sent everybody to the wrong landing page. So then over the next few hours, I think I got 4 other emails from customers mentioning it and just saying, I think I'm having a problem. What's going wrong? Like, no, it's not you. I'm really sorry. It was me. So then I sent a second email. This is now probably 10 hours after my first email, with the headline like update with a little emoji of the traffic cone or something, like letting them know that I had an error in the previous email. I'm really sorry. This is the correct link, which then meant many people over the following hours then decided to, all right, we'll try again. Let's try again. She sent us one place once. It didn't work. Now I'm annoyed. I haven't even looked at how many people have unsubscribed from that first email. I don't want to know if I really annoyed anyone. I don't think I would have had many more than normal. It's just a mistake. However, the second email I sent with the correct link pushed a heap of new traffic to the website. So that's why I thought this screenshot was perfect for this episode, because that's what tells the story behind the headline of increase your website traffic by 81%. Yeah, you could maybe send emails more often than you mean to and do a bit of like switcheroo FOMO stuff and say, I'm really sorry, I made a mistake. Here's the correct link. And that's how you get people back all over again. It's completely accidental. I would never suggest doing that for real. But I thought it was a great illustration for how the stats you see and the data and the headlines you see online aren't necessarily a lie. But what's the story behind that data? What's the story behind that headline? Who is it that's saying it? And do you know much about them and do you trust them? Because again, another example is a few months ago, I had a discovery call with somebody who was with an agency for their meta ads and they're not any longer. So they were reaching out to me to have a chat about it. And one of the things they said was that they were spending $20 a day on meta and it was wasted money because they didn't get much back from it. My head goes two places straight away with that, because I empathize. I totally get that. That's a lot of money to spend $20 every day, month after month, and not get a lot from it. But it's hard to know what not getting a lot from it means, because she didn't understand what it meant, because she was either kept in the dark by her agency, she wasn't educated by her agency about it. I don't believe they did enough to fill that knowledge gap for her, to be transparent with her enough about the data and what she could expect to get for $20 a day. You cannot get a lot for $20 a day on Meta in 2024. You just can't. You could in 2020, but you cannot in 2024, which is why your Facebook ads need to be one umbrella under the many umbrellas that build a business and a brand online. And Facebook ads is one of those now. You used to be able to set up an e-commerce store and just grow and build off of Facebook ads profitably. You probably can still do that, but those stories are few and far between. That is the exception now. It's not the rule. So your expectations about what to get from Meta and how much it will cost you to get the results you want from Meta need to be talked about and clarified for you, so that you go in with your eyes wide open into spending money with Meta and what you expect to get for that money and that ad spend. So she may have been wasting $20 a day. I don't actually know, because I didn't audit her account and I don't know what the agency set up and why. So I don't actually know if they wasted her money or not. They may well have. They may also not have educated her enough on what she could expect to get from $20 a day, particularly if you are a brand new store. Hey, like when you are a brand new store, your pixel is fresh. There is no data. What has Meta got to work with? Your results are going to cost you a lot. Like this podcast. I've had this podcast now for 2 years, but I've only been running ads for 4 months. There's not a lot of data yet for Meta to give me really cost-effective results. So it's costing me more at the moment than I would like it to be, but I need to train Meta. I need to build that pixel with data. My e-commerce store, I get really cost-effective results. I'm very pleased with how much results cost me with my e-com brand, because I've got 4 years of data and thousands and thousands and thousands of data points and dollars in the back of Ads Manager there with that website and that pixel. But this podcast, the pixel is still pretty new. There's not thousands and thousands of data points yet in the back to be able to expect certain things from Meta for $20 a day. So is your website brand new? And what advertising budget do you have, and how long have you had it for? Like if you're a business, you need an advertising budget. You need to be paying money to advertise. And in my realm, I'm a Facebook ad specialist. That's what I do. So I'll be spending money on Facebook and Instagram, on Meta, to find those people for your business, for your brand, to build it, to build your brand awareness, and to build leads and customers and sales. So that was just an interesting conversation I had on a discovery call. And just to sort of let you know, to reiterate to you that you need to dig a bit deeper into what's going on and why, and have reasonable expectations of data and results from the outset. And if you don't feel like you have that, like go looking for it, go and ask the questions so that you understand what you're getting for the dollars that you're spending. The overnight stories that you hear, particularly when you get them, like I said, on social media, or you get emails like DMs from someone online, or cold emails, people reaching out to you, uh, if they make you feel like paralyzed and not empowered and encouraged, then like switch it off. Like I said, don't go looking for the magic solution to your business, like the magic piece, because there's potentially nothing wrong. It's just that there's things you need to continue to do to grow. It's maths and not magic. I say that all the time with e-commerce. It is a mathematical problem. It's not a magic problem to be solved overnight with some secret piece that you are missing that only this one guru has, that shows you the screenshot of it you need to go and find. It's a mathematical problem. It's not a magical problem. People will rarely see an email on social media anymore and buy on the first try, particularly when you're targeting cold traffic. That just doesn't happen as much now as it did a few years ago. So to expect that, particularly this discovery call I had for someone who was spending $20 a day, is just unreasonable. There was nothing actually wrong, potentially, in either what her agency had done or where her business was currently at. It's just that there was a mismatch between what she was expecting to get for the resources she was putting into it. Because people rarely buy off of the first time they see an ad on social media to buy my stuff. They just rarely do anymore. And I guess as a guide, if you're sort of looking for a guide, because you're like, well, that's all well and good, but what on earth will I expect? If you really want to just get purchases from Meta, you want to get cold traffic, you want to get sales on the platform, you should expect at least your average order value per new customer. So take that in for a minute. Just think about that. Your average order value per new customer, which, if that was the case, that's probably good and not terrible. What does that mean for you? It means, do you have repeat customers? Because if you don't, why bother advertising? What's your average order value? How could you increase that to offset those costs? What email flows do you have built to nurture these people if they come on a purchase conversion campaign or dynamic shopping catalog campaign and don't purchase? How else are you trying to capture them? Is there a blog on your website they can go and read more information and find out more about you? Are you then sending emails to them every week just to keep them updated with your brand and what's going on and moving them closer to making the decision to purchase? If it is going to cost you your average order value to get one sale on Meta from cold traffic, I'm not talking about retargeting, I'm not even talking about a pixel that's been around for a long time. This is sort of very beginner, you're brand new, and you sort of got swept up in the online guru world, and you're just launching campaigns and wondering what's going wrong and why things aren't working. If you're going to spend your average order value to get your one customer, your first customer on Meta, or your first each time new customer, if they don't buy again, that's a disaster. So what's your returning customer rate? What's your add to cart rate? What's your average order value? What upsells do you have? What's your lifetime customer value? All of these things then become critical to any sort of long-term sustainable business growth. Hence why I say that Meta is just not the place anymore where you throw money in and you're profitable with just ads on their own. Just purely e-commerce purchase conversion ads on their own. You won't be profitable with just that approach in 2024. It's not the way Meta works anymore. The thing I love about how Meta works now, which I've talked about for over a year now, when I look back at my episodes when I first mentioned this, it's over a year, is that you will find much more success on the platform if you build a marketing funnel inside Ads Manager. That's my strategy. That's what I do. That's what I suggest clients do, is build a marketing funnel inside Ads Manager. I reckon I mentioned that on a podcast episode at the end of 2023. So this is not new stuff, but still it just doesn't come out as much online. It's just so many gurus still that push just sales conversion campaigns and dynamic shopping catalog campaigns, which are terrible ideas. I did my episode 100 is about AI with Facebook ads and my feelings about it. I really encourage you to go listen to that. It's a little bit like this episode. It's a bit soapboxy, like I'm sort of having a bit of a rant about my issues with AI and Facebook and how they try and get you to click through and activate all of these little helpful tips they have for you that will cost you a fortune and not worth doing, in my opinion. That's a different episode, though. That's episode 100. This episode It's just, I want to encourage you to block out the noise if you don't find it motivating or encouraging. I want to encourage you, there's probably nothing catastrophically wrong with your business. It's just a stage of business you happen to be at the moment. You need to look at the very next problem in front of you and not get too caught up in the stats and the screenshots you see everywhere online. That's right. I'll tell you about the second screenshot I showed before, my Klaviyo screenshot. This is a screenshot of my pop-up. The number of submits I have had on my pop-up. Look at it, 14.29%. So if you're listening and not watching on video, I've got a screenshot I share from my Klaviyo opt-in, my pop-up, that shows that 14.29 people who viewed it submitted it. That's a good stat. There's another headline stat for a TikTok video or a Facebook ad or something you see online. Get 14.29% opt-in rate on your lead magnet. That would pique my interest. But then you look inside the data and you do a bit of digging and you discover that when I look at that, which I didn't need to include all this screenshot, I could have made it look even better by just having the 14.29 snipped out, but I included a bit more there if you're watching it on video, is that means there's been 8 people submit the form. I took this screenshot about 4 hours after I launched a new pop-up. And I saw the submit rate just because I was clicking around and looking at stuff and I was curious. And when I saw 14.29 again, I thought I need to screenshot this. This is a perfect example for this episode about overnight successes and how this online stuff can hurt your mindset more than help you. Because that looks like if you're not getting that, you're doing something wrong. If you see that online and somebody shares that with you, you think, oh, I must be doing something wrong. I'm not getting that stat. No, you're not doing anything wrong. That data is manufactured by me and it tells a story when you dig into it, which is that 14.29% submit rate on my email opt-in, my pop-up on my website. That was a period of a few hours. So I launched a new pop-up and I took that screenshot just after a few hours of time. In addition to, there was 8 people that submitted the form in that window of time. 2 of them were me. I tested it with a couple of different email addresses. So 2 of those submits are mine. Like, it's very easy to make this stuff look like you are missing a magical piece to your business, and you're actually not, because I created that screenshot quite simply by submitting my own pop-up by various email addresses, and then gives me this great stat to share with you of 14.29%, which is rubbish. But I wanted to share it with you in this episode because I thought it was helpful to the illustration I'm making. So my takeaway for you is if this sort of stuff you see online doesn't actually help your mindset, it doesn't actually help you progress and solve your next problem, then block it out. Like, try and block out the noise and just move to the next problem you have. Potentially you don't even have a problem. Like, don't get caught up looking at that stat and think, oh no, my website pop-up's trash, because it's probably not. Just because that stat says 14% doesn't mean yours at 2.5% is terrible. There might be other issues, or not issues. There's probably another problem in your business that needs your attention first, that actually moves the business forward and actually grows your business, rather than spending hours deep diving into that pop-up and trying to get it up to 14%. Then spending days or even money on a course or an expert on that sort of thing when you don't even know who that person is. So do your due diligence with creators and with business coaches and online experts. When you see this sort of stats, go back and just check and follow for a little while and see if you really do gel with their business ethos and their strategies and things like that. And just take those screenshots with a grain of salt, unless they really tell you the story behind it and give you the transparent, clear data about what's actually going on. That's sort of really what I want to encourage you with today. So thanks for listening. And that's episode 103. Head back and listen to the other episode I have about the pop-up from last week at episode 102. And episode 100, which was about Facebook ads and AI, which is a little bit like this. Like I said, it's a bit more ranty, a bit more like me on my soapbox about something in the online space that's getting on my nerves, which is a bit like this episode. And then I'll see you next time. Like, as always, keep learning.